But if you look at it from the Islamic point of view, this is falling in line with the predictions made by the Prophet Muhammad SAW, in the sense that as we move toward the day of resurrection, that there would be a time of a type of mass confusion coming in, instability all over the world, oppression in so many different lands.
No, I'm not worried at all. I rely on God, Allah.
There was one thing, though, that was very bad for the Muslim world. The Muslim world suffered a lot after World War II. Now, do you see, hopefully, that there would be a different outcome for the Muslim world or for Muslims in general after this type of event? Like, are we primed for a mujaddid, so to speak?
Well, I mean, you can look at it from 2 points of view. I mean, one, there's no doubt that there's going to be a major recession happening after this. There's an international reset in terms of how money is being transferred around the world, and how power and authority is being looked at. So from that point of view, Muslims are already suffering. We've suffered the major genocides in Syria and with the Rohingya Muslims in Kashmir and Central African Republic and Palestine. That's happening on the ground. We've suffered from disease like Yemen, the cholera outbreak, and so many problems we've had with malaria and whatnot. That's already happening on the ground. We've suffered from military conflicts, and we've suffered from the fallout of weapons of mass destruction, being blown up in our countries, like Iraq and Afghanistan, and what happens from that. So from that point of view, we will be in a very difficult situation on the ground in terms of wealth, in terms of disease, in terms of stability. But if you look at it from the Islamic point of view, this is falling in line with the predictions made by the Prophet Muhammad SAW, in the sense that as we move toward the day of resurrection, that there would be a time of a type of mass confusion coming in, instability all over the world, oppression in so many different lands. And this would actually usher in the time of an international leader for the Muslim world, who is the Mahdi. And of course, this opens up a Pandora's box. Who is the Mahdi? But the reality is, what has happened historically, and again, I tend to look at things as a historian. After the greatest calamities that have struck the Muslim world, there's actually a revival. Now, if you look back, for instance, in 1258, when the Mongols sacked Baghdad, and they were coming through the Muslim world, destroying major capitals, killing 500,000 people at a time, and destroying major metropolises. And they reached Baghdad and they burnt the books and they killed the people, and it was something like we had never seen. And one of the writers, whose name was Ibn Lathir, he even said, "I wish I was never born, so that I would not have to be the one who would write this." And so they were likening the Mongols to Gog and Magog, Yajuj and Majuj. They thought, this is the end. What else can happen worse than this? But after that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up the hearts of some of the Mongols, and Berke, we have one of the Golden Horde in Russia, and then the Mamluks were raised up in Egypt. They defeated the Mongols in Ain Jalut, and following that, when the Mamluks took over, there was actually a flowering of Islam, because it's during the Mamluk period that you get the great writers like Ibn Kathir, and so many of the books that we're reading now actually came out during the Mamluk period. So it's almost what some call Sunnatullah. It is that after this destruction, if we respond properly to the destruction, then we can actually have a revival. So this is Tajdeed. This is when life comes back into the Muslim world. And I believe, and Allah knows best, that we are actually being prepared for something really big, because we're being hit everywhere. Nobody's coming out of this. And we're being tested. And even our very concept of Islam, Are we ritualistic Muslims, or are we really followers of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Are we sincere? So it's almost like you have this World Cup game for your football team, your soccer team, and you need to put them through a serious practice. Like the last few practices are intense before you go out for the World Cup, because you need to be on a certain level in order to meet those teams that you would meet in the World Cup. It's not a regular set of events. So similarly, when we come out of this, and you can feel it, like, Judgment Day is coming, like major signs are looming right in front of us. And just the fact that we are now locked down all over the world, just the fact that our masjids are emptied, just the fact that, you look at Mecca and Medina and there's nobody there making salat but the workers, and the imam. Who could have thought this 3 months ago? You would be insane to think like this. So this is the same type of mindset that the predictions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, gives the reader. In other words, apocalyptic events will come one after another, like beads falling off a string. And so that we're actually being moved into that mindset. And I look at it in a positive way, because the Muslim world, to a great extent, was stagnated. Leadership throughout the world became impotent. Scholars arguing over trivia. We're not using our resources, so now our backs are against the wall. But inshallah, we can rise to the surface, because we've done it in the past. And inshallah, we can this time.
Do I feel that the New York police are providing enough protection, or do I have to have protection of my own? I look for protection from Allah.